Welcome to the third film in our series of short videos on the repair and the restoration of the old masters hanging in the chapel here at Wentworth Woodhouse. We hope you've enjoyed following the journey of Christ, St. Paul and the 12 apostles so far. In this episode, we're focusing on the initial repair and cleaning of the paintings. Before we begin, we would like to thank you for supporting Wentworth Woodhouse Preservation Trust. If you'd like to help us build something extraordinary, please give what you can by following the link below. And our fundraising will help to support the restoration of the paintings, but also the renovation of the chapel itself, in memory of Alistair Lang, the renowned art historian. He was the first to identify this rare series as the work of Gerard Segers, a Flemish painter who collaborated with Rubens from the 1630s. So far, we've followed the journey of the old masters from the chapel to conservators Simon and Martin for condition assessment. They are certainly amongst the dirtiest paintings they have ever worked on, with layers of coal dust and grime, as well as thick old yellow-brown varnish, and some of the group also needs significant repair and relining. A serious problem with St. John is the extensive raised and flaking paint caused by long-term exposure to damp. The paint is no longer adhering to the canvas, and paint flaking must be addressed before attempting any cleaning. In preparation, Simon inserts a plate under the canvas to give firm support for the repair work he has to tackle.
We put a PVA adhesive, this is called Lasco, which has a very low surface tension, so it flows very readily underneath the lifting paint. And once you've applied the adhesive and it's soaked through, you can then settle it down using a heated spatula and a piece of silicone paper. The silicone paper ensures that the paint doesn't get stuck to the paper itself or indeed the spatula.
Once the paint is secure, cleaning can begin in earnest. Dirt and soot are removed from the face of St. Matthew using cotton wool wands dampened with a weak solution of water, ammonia and Lysopol detergent. This breaks down the surface grime. Using circular movements, small areas are tackled in sequence to avoid over-dampening the canvas and the risk of colour leakage. And already the colours are coming to life, and just look at the soot and the grime on the cotton wool. But even with the painting now free of soot, the removal of several coats of resin varnish from St. Matthew is going to be a tricky business.
Right, so I'm just applying some white spirit first so I can see the paint surface more clearly. And then I'm now using a solvent mixture of an alcohol and white spirit to swell and dissolve the varnish, which should leave the paint surface, which is a dried oil film, unaffected. But one has to go very carefully at this stage because we never know quite what's going to happen.
The varnish is proving rather stubborn, so Simon tries a slightly stronger solution of ammonia in water, with rather more success. Martin has assessed the second delivery of paintings, including St. Peter, St. Paul and Jesus Christ depicted as Salvator Mundi.
St. Paul has been caught in the nick of time. He's very flaky down the left-hand side and along the top, and quite a few little bits of paint have dropped off already, which would have been more or less invisible in the chapel. He's going to need to be consolidated and to be relined. The dullness of the paint surface is a combination of the coal dust and yellow varnish, which has dried out and gone rather matte. And the cracks are now showing they have some physical effect.
Martin too needs to tackle paint flaking on the painting of St. Paul.
It's immediately obvious that this area is flaking quite badly. The paint's lifting the edges of the cracks. There are a lot of cupped bits of paint. Some bits have fallen off already, not very much luckily, and there's quite a lot more which would fall off if we didn't do something about it.
Martin identifies the main areas of flaking paint along the top edge and sides of the canvas, examining the damage in detail under a microscope. Like Simon, he treats flaking paint by dabbing on dilute adhesive and using a heated spatula and facing paper, pressing in the glue to bond and flatten the raised paint. Repairing flaking paint is clearly a painstaking and extremely time-consuming stage of the restoration process, one not to be rushed. At initial assessment, Martin had suggested that Salvator Mundi may have undergone some treatment separately from the other paintings.
But I'm also pretty sure that these matte streaks around his head are somebody doing some reinforcing. So I think what's happened is that he was cleaned at some point within the last 150 years. It is very often the case that the most important picture gets cleaned while the others aren't, or someone just cleans the head. That's particularly common in dealing with dirty old pictures. He will clean very satisfactorily, I think, and then go off to be lined.
Treating the paint flaking and cracks is a job for another day, but today Martin is demonstrating the cleaning process on Christ's right hand, which is raised in blessing.
Well, that's interesting. He's behaving quite differently to Bartholomew, who with just white spirit, an awful lot of the coal dust came off.
Martin is now using a solution of water with a few drops of ammonia. Sometimes it's just a case of trying different approaches.
That seems to have removed all of the surface dirt from that area, or pretty much all of it, and exposed the craquelure, which are looking very dark at the moment.
Most historic paintings have a network of tiny cracks, known as craquelure, which develop naturally as part of the aging process. These don't necessarily detract from our enjoyment of the painting. However, over time, paint can lift away at the edges of the craquelure due to poor environmental conditions, resulting in the varnish becoming ingrained in the cracks. And of course, this can cause more lifting. With Salvator Mundi, Martin will need to repeat the de-varnish process several times to remove the trapped residue. And before sending the painting off for relining, he will also treat the flaking paint and surface cracks. The cleaning of Christ reveals the grey pallor of the hands, which are quite different to the more flesh-coloured hands of the other apostles. Martin wonders if perhaps this may symbolise the different way in which Christ is depicted, that he's not a live person in the way that the apostles are.
This is Simon, who's holding a scroll, which is hard to see because he's so dirty. And he is basically in extremely good condition. And where I've done a cleaning test on the drapery and the hand, you can see what an enormous difference cleaning makes. And because he's rather a dull, muted sort of picture, he's going to change tremendously. And he's in almost perfect condition underneath all the dirt and varnish. And he's going to be a joy to work on. One of the interesting things about the accumulation of dirt and varnish is how it makes the dark colours much lighter. It imposes a sort of grey film over the whole picture, so you don't get any depth at all. And that will change dramatically when all of that comes off. And this, I think, is very simply painted using basically earth pigments, carbon black, and probably burnt umber, raw umber. And I think the green in his cloak is probably green earth, which was available in those days. And there'll be some yellow ochre in the pale drapery and in his face and beard, and some light red. He wouldn't need very many different colours to achieve this extremely well-preserved image.
As with the preliminary cleaning of other paintings, Martin removes surface coal dust and grime with a weak solution of ammonia in water, and then a mild solution of ammonia and isopropanol to tackle the yellow-brown varnish. We can see how the swabs change colour as the layers of soot, grime and varnish disappear. This painting alone will take Martin about a week to clean.
Then I will put on a thin synthetic resin varnish, which won't go yellow or become insoluble with time, and then assess how much, if any, retouching needs to be done.
We've shown you just a snapshot of conservation activity. Cleaning the grime and dissolving the varnish layers on all 13 paintings is clearly an enormous task, and I suspect rather more time-consuming than our conservators had expected. None of us had anticipated the amount of coal dust and the impact on these old masters of the open cast mining which took place here in the gardens outside. And just imagine the effect on the house's magnificent furnishings and on the health of those who lived here. Our conservators will be hard at work for some time, but the cleaning results will be truly dramatic. In our next episode, we're going to focus on the relining of damaged paintings. It's a fascinating and complex process, and one which we feel merits a film on its own. Don't forget to subscribe for free to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss our next film. And if you'd like to make a donation to support the restoration of our old masters, the chapel, or indeed any of our other challenges, follow the Just Giving link below. Thank you.